everyone, this is Rebecca from Papeterie de Choix, and welcome to Monograph Monday. I made some little folio inserts. I see a lot of videos of using 12x12s and 6x6s, but I have not as of yet seen videos using these 4.5 by 6.5, just a little bit larger than postcard size. And I've got a few of those. I've used this one down a lot, as you can see. And then I bought this one the other day because, you know, Hobby Lobby puts their paper on sale like every month, and I couldn't pass it up because it was like $3 or a little, well, like $3.60 I think. And then the paper pad that I made these from is this one, and it was on clearance for $2.24, and again, you can't pass that up. And then I also have the 12x12 version of this, but I wanted to do something that used some of these, just the small version of the 12x12. And so I came up with just this little folio, I suppose that's what to call it, but I also have a few extra pieces, full sheets of coffee dyed paper. So let me just show you what I did. It's very simple. The first thing I did was I backed it. You can see these are just white sheets on the back. I backed it with some craft paper. I just used my homemade glue mixture and just put, it's wrapping paper, but it's craft paper. Comes on a roll just like gift wrap. And I just used my scoreboard and kind of found the dividing line between whatever the scenes were. And what's funny is I did them all by the design, but they all turned out almost exactly the same width, which was 3 inches. There's only one that's slightly less, I think. So, and then I just took a string closure of some sort. This is something I cut off of, I think, a blouse when I deconstructed it, and just did that. Now there was one, when I folded the paper, my coffee dyed paper, it was a 9x12, I folded it in half and then cut it in 2 3/4 sections. Yeah, this is it. And for whatever reason, of course, my husband kept asking me questions while I was trying to do this, so I think I just wasn't paying attention. Not that I'm blaming him, I just wasn't paying attention. But anyway, I stapled these in almost the same identical place, so I had to come back in because the 2 inner sheets fell out. So I had to come back a little bit lower, but I didn't want to try to take these staples out because I knew it would rip the paper. So that's that one. And the paper inside's all the same. I just wanted to show you. Now I did a little bit different corner punch on this one. This one didn't really have the dividing line. I mostly just wanted to see which way the roses looked the best, and I liked that one, that side, as opposed to that side better. And these just make cute little inserts to go in a journal that has like a full scene, and it's just simple, just like I said, coffee dyed paper. Now you could go further and stamp these, or put some other kind of design. The very first one I showed you, I rounded the bottoms, but I realized that because I had rounded the corners on it, but laying against the straight bottom here, I realized that it kind of looked out of place. It didn't match these. It needs to match these, so I left them straight for those. And then this is the last one I did. I just picked out sheets that had little scenes or something that I liked. And so this is the same. Now, also what I did was, I do have a lot of 6x6s, so last night I sat down and did the same thing. I didn't sit down, I stood up because I stand up to craft. unless I'm sewing something. But anyway, so I had this 6x6 from a paper pad, and I thought, okay, well, we can do a 6x6, do the same thing, and I backed it with the same craft paper, folded it up. Now, one thing I did on this one, I think I did it on this one. No, it wasn't this one, it was this one. I put my score line where I didn't want it, because I wanted a little bit wider front. So there's a little bitty score mark there, but I ended up making it narrower. But the same concept, I just haven't put any paper in it yet. So then I pulled out another 6x6 paper pad. This is a Prima Epiphany, it's called. And I've got this one. I've done roughly half the pages, and then I have another full one. And so it's not really, it is me, but it isn't me kind of thing. And so I did this, and I got to punching with the corners and realized I hadn't put any paper on the back. So this one might end up just staying like it is, just because, and it does have a lot of stark white in the front, so it don't look odd, as opposed to these are very vintagey, and there's no, they would look odd if they were white on the inside. So I had done one, so I thought, well, I'll just go ahead and do the other one the same way, without backing it with anything. But I closed it and punched with this corner punch that has the little knot sticking out on the corner. So what we're going to do today is make a couple of these. I still have them on over here. I've already adhered the craft paper to the backs, so we just need to cut them out, score them, and put some paper on the inside. So I'm just going to show you the process of how I do that. So let me move all this and move all this, and I'll come back and we will assemble these two. Okay, so I have my little trimmer here, and I always start with the ends because my trimmer, it'll trim up to 7 inches, and these are 6 inches. No, not 6, they're 6.5 inches wide. So I just line up my paper to my little thing here and just trim them. This is, very straightforward in what it is, and I could definitely do this with scissors, but this is much faster and much more accurate. Or at least I like to think so. And I was looking for just a simple little project that I could put in a journal that I'm kind of in the process of making. And then I was also looking at these oversized postcard size paper pads and thinking, what can I do with those? So I kind of married two ideas together. Except that the papers that I picked out to go with this journal I'm making, they're actually 6x8. So I'll probably be just cutting them in half and doing something like this for the journal. I haven't made up my mind completely about how I'll use them, but you'll be seeing that in another video soon, if all works out right. Anyway, we'll put it that way. Don't want to put all my eggs in one basket or count my chickens before they hatch, or whatever all those sayings are about being cautious about speaking up for the future. Okay, so that's that. And so So now the other thing that I did do, these are just a little bit, actually that one's too much off. I'm looking at it kind of, yeah, that's better. Kind of sideways, I guess. Or my view is angled. So, plus up under here, it's shadowy, so it's kind of hard to see exactly how things go, but I believe that took care of it. Alright, so this one I can score basically wherever I want to. I'll just make sure I get like a line of butterflies. So let me move this down a little, because I know that my frame, I've got my camera I think a little lower, and my frame is not as big as usual. So if I want to capture this butterfly completely, so if I go at 1 inch, I'm going to cut part of its wing off. So I'm going to go over here to 1 1/4, and that should put me right down beside the butterfly, even this one possibly. And also this puts this on a separate, it will put this on the back. So I'm going to score this at 1 1/4. And if you do a project like this and you do it by the seam that's on your paper, then your measurement's going to be different. But you can make it work with basically any paper. Now you've got this left, and really I should come right down through here, but I don't want the part that comes over here to be so wide that it comes all the way inside, because I want this on the outside, that it comes all the way to the seam. I do want it to go under a little bit. So basically I'm looking at kind of where I want it to come, and I think 4 1/2 is good here. So half of 4 1/2 is 2 1/4, but if I do it at 2 1/4, or yeah, that's where I was. It's early in the morning and my brain's not working very well. Okay, so half of 4 1/2 is 2 1/4. So if I do it at 2 1/4, when I fold it, it should equal out right here at this mark. So, but I'm going to turn it over to do that because I want to score from the other side. So I'm going to score it at 2 1/4, keeping my fold on the right side so that I get the right measurement. Now it's going to come up right through this butterfly, but that's just how it is sometimes, ain't it? You got to cut your butterflies in two, or at least put a mark through the middle of them. So, and since I've put this craft paper on the back, it's a little thicker, so I'm doing 2 or 3 marks here. See, there we go. Put that on the top, or it actually looks good both ways. I like that little butterfly, but I really want the big one to be on the top. So the next thing I will do is bring in a corner rounder, and I think I'll use this one here and round the corners. Now I'm not going to do what I did on those others and round even the folded corners. I'm just sticking with these. And then I'm just going to work right here on top of my scoreboard, and then I just come in and ink my edges. And what I do is I just hold it closed, because the thicker the paper, the better marks you get, I think, on this. And just do all the edges like so. And then I just run a line down that fold line. And then when you get through, all you have is this little edge here. and this little edge here. And I know that's bound to be noisy in the camera. Okay. So then, I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to go ahead and do the other one. So on this one, I really would like this whole thing, but I know that's not feasible. Otherwise it kind of destroys the look of the journal unless I put this on the outside. But I'd still have to do it along about here. So I'm going to score this one at 2 inches, and that's going to separate the finger from the postcard, but that'll be okay. And I'm going to fold it and see where we are, because if you notice I did fold this one slightly wider than the first one. So now on this, if I just want my, but I really want it, I want it to fold right here. Okay, so on this I'm not going to do a measurement like I did on the other one that had the all over pattern. I'm going by the design on the paper, so I'm just going to lay it back down here. Actually, I could lay it this way since I'm going by the design, and I'm going to come just outside of it. Now, again, the one thing I want to do is make sure that this, when I fold it, is going to be underneath the other one, and it will be. So, and for this one, I'm going at 2 3/4 with it turned the opposite direction, like so. And again, with this one, you can decide that you might want that one on top. I kind of think it looks better that way. You get the hint of the postcard and you know what it is, whereas this, well, it does look good both ways. I'll have to think about this one. Now, with this one, because it does have the stuff in the corner, I just want to put a little bitty round corner there, because I don't want to take away too much from the design. So that's that, and I'm just going to, I don't know, I'm still kind of thinking I like the postcard better on the front than that. So yeah, I'm going to go this way with it. So again, I'm just going to come in here and put a little ink on those edges, make them just look a little bit more vintage. And I see this one, I need to straighten it up just a little. I'm just a tiny bit off at the bottom, but I can straighten that up very easily. And then you still have the hand on the back. Now, you obviously could glue this to a page and it just be a little booklet, so to speak, right on your page. Or do it as an insert, either one. If you glued it to your page, you probably would have to put a different type of closure on. But that being said, you also could glue a string, or in the case I'm using this fabric, if you glued it flat on the back to come out the sides, it could still tie. That's a thought. So, alright, so that's done. So, let me pause while I move this out of my way and get my workstation back with everything off of it, and I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. For you, it's going to be a couple of seconds. Okay, like I said, I had some coffee dyed paper. This is drawing paper. I guess you could say adult drawing paper. It comes in a paper pad of, I think, either 50 or 100 sheets that I picked up at it could have been Walmart, but I highly doubt it. We have a store called Ollie's that carries overstocks and such, and it's the same paper pad that would come out of like Walmart and that sort of thing, but for much cheaper price. So anyway, what I'm doing here is folding it in half long ways, and I like that stain. I've already folded it, so I'm not going to redo it. And it doesn't matter if it's just slightly off. You don't want it to be a lot off with getting your edges evened up. But you do want it to be as close as possible. So because of the width, I'm going to come in here and measure, because this one turned out to be quite narrow compared to the other one. So it's 2 3/4, and that's where I've been cutting my paper. So I'm going to cut the paper for this one at 2 1/2. So I'm going to use this piece of paper, and I'm just going to come in and go all the way across this and get as many as I get at 2 1/2. And I don't know how many that's going to be, but it could be that I get an extra layer. No, I don't think so. I'm just going to have a wider scrap. Yeah, that's what it's going to be, just a wider scrap. So I have these 4 for this one. I'm going to lay this here out of the way. Well, that's in my way. Let's lay it over here. And then this one is right on 3, so I'm going to cut it at 2 3/4 like I did the other ones. So 2 and, well, that's not 2 3/4. There we go. Make sure all my little edges are against the barriers like they should be, otherwise it's going to be crooked. So basically I get 4 sheets, or 4 little folded sheets, that is, out of this piece of paper, and then I have a little scrap left over that I can use to put something on. Okay, so that's these. I can put this away. Alright, since these are the ones I've got, we're going to start with those. And what I do is I just put the one that I like the best on top and just put them inside each other, like so. Now, here, because I cut a 9 by 12 1/2, and see, if I put this right at the top, I'm going to have just this tiny bit sticking out. So what I did was I just lined up my paper to my edge here, if I can do it. Brought out my cutting ruler, and I want to line it up, and it doesn't matter where I measure, this would end up being the same, but here's my half mark. This long mark here is the half mark, and I want to cut it at the one just before it. So I'm lining my ruler up all the way across, and I'm taking off 1/8 of an inch plus where the little folds are sticking out from the papers that are to the inside, and I'm just cutting that little bit off. Now, and I did put my trash can closer to me this time, so I don't have to worry about trying to throw my scraps across the room. Now, one thing I did is I took my ink and I just went around the edges like this, and then just put a little across the top, front and back, because, well, sort of like front and top, I guess you could say. And let me just put a little bit more right through here. And then something that I actually forgot to do that I did do on the others was ink the inside. So I'm just going to do that real quick so it don't have to be perfect. It just needs a little bit of color just to define that edge there. And that's good enough. It looks good to me. Okay, so put that to the side. Here's, make sure I put it on on the right one. Now, the way I was doing my other ones, then I just sort of center it, leave me a little bit of space at the top. I have my space at the bottom. That looks relatively even to me. And I just put, these are loose, not very tight bulldog clips here, just to help hold it in place. And then if I need to move it just a smidgen, I can without it being a big deal. And so that looks good. I'll come in with my handy dandy little stapler and make sure it goes far enough down to catch the papers in the middle so I don't have to do what I did before. Keep them in line. Now, I know I've said this on another video. I love this little stapler. It's not the brand name that a lot of people use, that you have to order special staples for and all that sort of thing. But it does use about the same size staples. It uses a tiny staple like that. It's made in the USA. I gave $15 for it on Amazon. It has a lifetime guarantee, so if it breaks or whatever, I can send it back. They'll send me another one. The selling point for me on top of all of what I've just mentioned is, I don't know if you can see here on the back, but it's the little thing here staples in such a way that these are flat. They do not catch. Where other staples have that little curve, and then you have to take your pliers in and flatten them. So on this you don't have to do that. So there is that. And I pulled out, now this might be way too long, and if it is I can cut it down. And I don't know that that matches that good, but it had a lot of yellow. It's got the green. I'm going to cut this down a little bit. Now this was if I remember, I'd have had these cut for a while. This, I think, was a pillowcase. When I used to work at the thrift store, I was the assistant manager. And part of my job was going through the things that people had donated to, you know, weed out the garbage, so to speak. And something that wouldn't sell, if it had a stain or something like that, that I could use, I would put it back and I would buy it and bring it home and use it. And that's more than likely where this came from. So I like using these fabric strips. It just gives it a little bit of that rustic, handmade look, and that's just something that I like. Yeah, I think that looks okay. Alright, move that over so the butterfly can be seen. So now let's do this one. And again, let me just run the ink over this inside just a little bit, because I did forget. And then here, I can get it open. These are cuddly bland compared to the others. But I think we'll go with this just like this. And we're going to line it up again here. and just trim that little bit off the bottom if I can keep my ruler straight. Okay, there we go. I have a giant metal can. I'll just show it to you. I've not decorated it so it's shiny. I don't remember what came in it. I think it was like soup or something. And my husband was like, "Do you want this can?" And I'm like, "Yes." So I've got all of my rulers and such stored in it. Alright. Ink these edges just a little bit. I don't try to ink every piece of paper, but I do want to get the outside ones for sure, just to make them a little purtier. That's mountain talk for pretty. Okay, so here we go. Let's do it this way. And it's not exactly where it, okay, let's see. Part of it's probably the way I'm holding it, but I can't get the bulldog clips on it if it's laying down, so just have to make it work the best we can. Today is my younger daughter's birthday. I was up there last week and I took her some plants, some house plants, before she had her last. She has 2 children of her own, her and her husband. They have one they adopted. He's 5 now, and they've had him since he was 19 days. And I love him. He's, oh my goodness, he's something else. But they're also foster parents, and they've had a little baby for a month now, or a little over a month actually, actually closer to 6 weeks. So they're getting a respite for a few days while she gets some things done around the house and with the others and that sort of thing. And so I took her a couple of house plants for her birthday. When was I up there? I went up there last Sunday and stayed till Thursday because my dad's birthday was last Wednesday. And so, alright. Okay, there we go. I may actually retie that. If it has a long tail but I want to keep the whole thing, I'll just reposition it or retie it until I get the length that I want. And then once it stays that way, it kind of keeps its little shape here. So, let's take a look. Those are the 2 that we just made. And then here's all the rest of them. Now, I made these all as inserts, but like I said, if you wanted to, you could glue a piece of fabric on that back, glue the whole thing to a page like it is, or you could not glue something on the back and leave the top open or a side open and glue 3 sides, whichever way you wanted to do it, and create a pocket behind it, either from the side or from the top. And you get one more use out of it. So you could make this a floating little folio or a permanent fixture with a pocket on a journal page. So that's the little project for today. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you with another video very soon.